Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's Listing Leads live workshop. I'm going to go ahead and make sure the chat is working so that way we can talk, conversate, ask questions. Give me 1 second here. Okay, cool. So, before we start, we got to let people pour in here. We got a couple hundred people registered for today's session. Just drop in the comments. Let me know where you're calling in from today. Let's make sure the chat is working and you can all hear me and you can hear me and see me. From Naples, Florida, from Vermont. Blair, I'm from New Hampshire. I'm down in Boston because we spend our time here. You got to be more specific because I do know Vermont. I do know cities in Vermont. From Winter Haven, I've been there. Needham, Naples, Tennessee. Welcome, everybody. Awesome. Love it. Okay. So for those of you who are just joining, and before we get dive into today's session, if you don't know, my name is Jimmy Mackin. I'm the co-founder of ListingLeads.com. We help now over 4,000 agents create and execute marketing campaigns that attract listings. We have now become the de facto source for listing attraction in our industry. Incredibly proud of the team here at Listing Leads and the service that we provide to all of our members. And I'm most proud of the fact that we have an incredible community. I mean, so a couple quick housekeeping items here. If you are not in our private mastermind group, you should definitely join it. My team will drop a link here in a second so you guys have access to the private mastermind group. We're in there every day sharing ideas and strategies, wins, tactics. It's all in there. So number one, jump in that mastermind group. Number two, make sure that you add your team members, your assistants, anyone else who you want to be part of the community. Let's make sure that we add them to the mastermind group as well. So on that note, we're here for a very specific reason. I want to give some context before we dive in. I got some slides to share, then get some Q&A as well later on. A couple days ago, we had an agent who dropped a post in our mastermind group, and maybe Bethany can find that link to that post where she basically said, "Listen, it's confession time. I have I've been paying for listing leads. I love the community, love the content, but I haven't been executing." And I'm curious in the chat if this is true for you. You see the post, you see the plan, you see the text, you see the emails, you see the direct mail campaigns, but right now you're not executing at the level you want to execute at. So in the chat right now, let me know, like, does that describe you? Where you're like, you see everything, but you're not really at the level you need to be. Okay, yep. Margaret saying, yep. George, hey, what's up, George? Michelle, guilty, guilty. Okay, cool. So yeah, Amy saying we just do email. Okay, exactly, Victoria. And this is the post. It's Leanna's post here in the group. I'll share my screen so you guys can all see this. I mean, this thing went viral in our community. You can see here, she's like, "Hey, listen, I need help," and so I thought it would be the perfect time for us as a community to get together and talk about how I want you to think about and how I want you to execute listing leads. Because what I'm here to tell you is that I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson on this. Like, we do the research, we do the writing, we do the creative, we do the design, we organize it into a plan so you don't have to think. And so when I see people struggling, I know there's probably just a little bit of an information gap we got to close. And if we can unlock that for your business, it could be transformational. Let me start by giving a little bit of a history lesson on listing leads because most people don't know this. Listing leads started off as a program Tom Ferry and I launched together called 100K in 100 days. This was the largest listing attraction experiment in history. And we got together, we partnered on this thing, and we developed a plan. Hey, this is what you should do over the next 90 days to get listings. And this was one of the worst quarters. Quarter was Q4 of 23, one of the worst kind of times in real estate history. We're just coming off of 12 rate hikes. Inventory was still collapsing, a lot of uncertainty. So we rolled out the program. We got over 3,000 agents to participate in the 90-day program. And from that program, we helped agents secure over $25 billion in closed business from buy side and sell side. We had a client, Julie Woods. So I'd never forget Julie Woods. I love Julie Woods. She had generated, she just followed the plan to the T. She generated $260,000 in GCI in 90 days in Q4 of 2023, which many of us remember, or maybe blacked it out, like as one of the most difficult quarters in the last decade. So what we learned from that experience was that if we can do the research, the writing, the editing, the designing, organize it into a plan, we can help lots of hardworking, talented agents spend less time stressing about marketing and more time executing and getting customers. And that's why, as an organization, as a company, and really as a movement, we've been so successful. Is that when we're at our best, we're helping you achieve that. Now, let me give you some context, because for those of you who have seen me speak and present, like I'm all across the country helping agents right now, trying to teach them about marketing. And I'm going to give you some context because there are only, and this is important, there are only two ways to grow your business. Only two ways. Number one is to optimize an existing marketing channel, an existing lead pillar. So that might be you're great with listing promotions. That might be expires. That might be PPC. That might be Zillow Flex. That might be email marketing. That might be social. That might be FISBOs, door knocking, you name it. You are optimizing an existing channel. So when you look at your business, kind of take that 360 view, what you find is there's a part of your business that's driving your growth. And there's a part of the things that you do on a daily basis that create the opportunities. And likely, if you were to look at that through that lens, like what are the drivers of growth? What are those lead pillars in your business? There's probably some room to optimize, meaning improve your quality of your output, improve the consistency of your output, improve the number of experiments you run to drive results. The second way to grow your business is to add an additional lead pillar. So you either optimize the one you have and you add an additional one. And that's the mindset that you have to have going into the summer of this year is, are you in a position, let me know in the chat, are you in the position right now where you are trying to optimize an existing lead pillar? Are you trying to add a new one? Or are you trying to do both? So optimize, add, or both. Right, and you can see here, we got a ton of people saying both, 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 right? Existing, I want to add a new one, both, 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 both. Yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, you're in the right place. Because today we'll talk about both of those things. We'll talk about looking at what I call the big three, the three things I want every single Listing Leads member who's part of our community doing. And I'll break these down and help you understand it. And then number two, we'll talk about different things you can add, things that I consider to be other pillars you could add that you might not have as part of your current strategy. So on that note, let's just talk about this idea of, again, why we exist at Listing Leads. We have built a marketing system. And a marketing system is something that defines your audience, who you're targeting, the channels that you market, the message, and the frequency. So it's just not a bunch of templates. Like that's not what we do at Listing Leads. We're not just giving you a bunch of templates, like go for it. We think of it as a marketing system, a plan designed to help you reach more people, engage those individuals, and start more conversations. And so a marketing system is defined by who are we targeting, what's the channels that make sense to reach them, what's the messaging, the words, the design, and then how often should we be doing that? In the absence of a great marketing system, this is largely the reason why we have so many people who have joined Listing Leads. In the absence of a great marketing system, you spend more time planning than doing. You ask questions like, what should I post this week? What should I email this week? What should I mail this week? What should I shoot for social this week? And that type of kind of questions lead to inconsistent execution. This is where many people really struggle. They're just not actually, they market when they're not busy and they stop when they are. And that creates a sort of ebbs and flows, which ultimately leads to unpredictable results. And so today, our goal is we built a marketing system. You are a member of Listing Leads. Let's make sure you're using it to its fullest so that you're getting the predictable results that you all want. So on that note, let's go ahead and stop sharing for 1 second. In the chat right now, I do want to make sure we have some good questions towards the end. What is the number one question you have for us at Listing Leads? What's the number one thing that you're struggling with right now? The number one question, like, hey, I really need help here. And make sure that you're dropping that in the chat. Our team will flag that, and we'll make sure that when we get into the Q&A section, we'll talk about some of those questions, hopefully answer them. So let us know in the chat, hey, what's my number one question, right? And yeah, Charlene, exactly, implementing what's said out. Okay, so let's start. Get your pens and paper handy. I'm gonna do this with you here today. And what we're gonna do is we're going to start with the big three. Now, the big three. So get your pens and paper, pen and paper handy. I'm gonna do this with you here today. So we got the big three, and the big three is going to be the three marketing pillars, lead pillars that every single person on today's call needs to have in their business. So you can have more than this. You can add other channels if you want. You get other tactics. I'm okay with that. But this is when I look at the thousands of agents I work with and I study, these three things are almost always present. So number one is they have an email marketing pillar. Okay. And I would write this down. Email marketing pillar. Number two is they have a texting pillar. And this is specifically for sales, right? Texting pillar. And number three, they have a farming pillar. This is what I consider the big three. If you were to do nothing else, meaning you weren't using the viral leaderboard, you weren't following the blueprints, you weren't, following the expired plans or FISBOs or Silver Tsunami. Okay. So long as you do the big three, emailing, texting, and farming, we will help you have a step change in your business. We will help you go from A to B. If you just get these three things right, we'll cover the big three. We'll cover how to be set up for success for these big three. We'll talk about specific tactics, how we do it. But the big three is everybody on today's call, everyone who watches the recording, I want you focused in on the big three. Now, here's the thing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling you don't know where to start, if you're feeling like, hey, there's a lot of options available, okay, big three. Every time without fail, big three. Because the big three accomplishes the most important thing in marketing, which is we have consistency with our execution, which creates lots of engagement, which leads to more conversations. It works so well together, and it's designed to work together that it's the only thing that you can do. You can do it again, it doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of effort, but is a thing that if everybody on today's call is consistent with, you will have a step change in your business. So let's talk about email marketing for a second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And I want to break this down because I think it's so important that we as a community understand this. So let's talk about email marketing. And again, taking notes. Number one, you have to, this is going to be basic 101 stuff, but we got to have this in place, which is you have to have an email marketing solution. Now, let's be clear. Let me know in the chat. You can use SendGrid. You can use MailChimp. You can use your CRM. You can use Klaviyo. You can use, Constant Contact. But you've got to have a tool that allows you to send emails out to the contacts in your database. So right now in the chat, let me know, what tool are you currently using to communicate to your database with email marketing? Right, Marie's saying my CRM, MailerLite, Lofty, FUB, Constant Contact, okay, Kit, yeah, Conversion, great company, Flowdesk, Bullet Trail, okay. So we've all got that. And the reason I bring it up because I found that some members did not even have that set up. You've got to have an email marketing solution. The second thing you need to have is you need to organize your database the right way. Now, we all have 1,000 tags and 1,000 different stages and 1,000 different ways to categorize our contacts. Let me break it down for you. I'm going to teach you the way that you should organize your lists. You should only have, when it comes to email marketing, you should only have 3 lists, 3 primary lists, okay? Number 1 is prospects, defined by people who you have not done business with. So it could be a Zillow lead, a PPC lead. It could be someone you add to your contact list. Someone you have not helped buy or sell a house should be in your prospecting list. Now, if you want to add additional filters to exclude vendors and partners, sure. But you should have a single list in your database called prospects, which includes everybody who is in your database that you have not done business with. The second list is clients. Those are people you've done business with. I don't care if they're buyers or sellers. Again, you can exclude people from this list. If you've got a list of out-of-state buyers who are never going to be transacting in your area again, or out-of-state sellers, cool. Exclude people. But you should have a list called clients, which only includes people you've done business with. And again, you can exclude people, but you're not creating sub-lists and subcategories. You got prospects, you got clients. The third list you need is everyone, which includes prospects and clients. So this is designed to basically say, I want to send it to every single person. Now, I want everyone to pay very close attention to what I'm about to say. There are people who spend tens of hours a month trying to figure out ways to organize and automate the categorization of their CRM. They have all these different tags and mechanisms and smart lists. And what I'm here to tell you right now is that little bit of optimization, you experience such tiny benefits from it that the effort and energy the juice is just not worth the squeeze on it. Because the emails that we write at Listing Leads follow a very simple formula called value-based emails. We're trying to give information that's going to be useful for the consumer. So there's no scenario where someone's going to be upset that they got, like, a person's upset they got an email, they got bigger issues that they got to deal with. We're not throwing hard, fastballs every single week to a customer. And that's why here's what's happening in the market. It's timely, it's relevant, it's from the perspective of establishing you as an expert. And so I'm here to tell you right now, you don't need to go any deeper than this. If you want to go crazy and have all these categories, sure. But what I want you to do is I want you to have prospects, people you haven't done business with, clients, people you have done business with, and then everyone. That's it. Now, let's explain this in detail here, because within Listing Leads, we have different types of emails that we create. So we have emails that are designed for your prospects. We have emails that are designed for your clients. We have emails that are designed for your entire database. And so when I click into, let's say, a deal of the week, which is a standard campaign that we want you executing, it's part of the big three. It's the email, texting, farming. When I look at the big three here, this email is really designed to send to your entire database, because your clients are going to, even if they're not looking to buy, they probably know someone who is going to. So now listen, if you want to exclude clients and just go prospects, that's totally fine. But the deal of the week email is designed to be sent to your entire database, because I've seen more people get business from referrals from this campaign than like any other email that we send. Because if I send you, hey, I've got this great deal, you're going to say, oh, actually, my buddy's looking for a house. Let me connect the two of you. Or I'd like to get more information. And it turned out they're actually doing it for their friend or family member. Like, I've got a pretty big family, and I know that, like, within our family chat, none of us are actively looking to buy a house, yet we're constantly sharing listings with each other. What do you think of this house? Because at least one of us is like at the early stages of maybe making a move at some point. So getting the deal of the week in front of those folks is an important strategy. Now, here's the thing. Let's talk about deal of the week for a second. I'm going to give you a pro tip here. In the chat, let me know. How do you currently determine which deal to feature? And by the way, if you're not familiar with the deal of the week, just let me know in the chat. I'll explain it briefly. But I want to know, how do you determine which deal to feature that week? See, Candace is saying it depends on my avatar. Great, right? The best value in the area. Great option. Newest listing with some feature. Okay. So let me just break it down, because we have a few people who are not familiar with this concept. The deal of the week campaign is a very simple task, which is like, what's the best deal in your area? Like, you find that, I'll tell you how I would find it. And then you go and say, I'm going to create an email that says, hey, this is North End's best deal of the week. Hey, I came across the property that might be the very best deal in the market. It's a single family home in the North End, under $1 million. Here's why I love it. You break down a few features. Shoot me a reply if you want to get some more information. I'd be surprised if it lasts. The key about a deal of the week is you don't include the price, you don't include the address, and you don't include any photos of the home. The whole goal of the deal of the week is to identify or to start conversations. Because you're saying, hey, I've done all this research for you. Here's the best deal. Contact me if you want to have a conversation. And again, conversations drive appointments, which drive customers. So this is the mindset we have to have. That's the concept of deal of the week. Here's what I would do. I would take an entirely different approach, which is I would look at Zillow or the equivalent in my area, and I would find which home has the most amount of views and the most amount of saves. Because what I'm doing there is I'm letting the consumer determine what they believe to be, the most popular or the best deal. You're not going to find a listing that has a lot of views and a lot of saves, and you're not going to find a listing that is not interesting to the consumer. So by targeting homes, you guys with me on this? By targeting homes that have a really high, what we call save rates, which is the number of saves per view, you will find deals that the consumer has already told us this is a great home. I mean, you can spend all the time analyzing every listing, determining whether you think it's a good deal or a bad deal, or you can use the wisdom of the crowds. Now, if you're in Canada, obviously Realtor.ca, I'm not sure if Realtor.ca includes views. That might be something you can look into. You might have to go a little bit more old school and kind of look at the listings and identify one. But taking the time, if I'm an agent right now in the US, I am going to look at the save rate as the number one indicator, because it's not about whether I think it's a good deal. It's really whether or not consumers think this is a good home. Because if they're saving the home a lot, it's going to translate into a shorter sales cycle, more demand, and more people interested in it. And I'm just trying to go where the trends are. I'm not trying to create new trends. You guys with me on this? And someone's saying, like Amy's saying, I only use my listings. Amy, there are other campaigns. There are other campaigns that we have for your own listings. I would say if you got a seller who you really want to feature, cool, go for it. However, I would focus really on like finding the most popular deals and using that as a conversation starter. So within Listing Leads, we have within the email campaigns, we have a ton of like listing centric email that you should send that you do as one off. But for deal of the week, I would try to focus more on the best deal in the week. Couple quick questions there. How long should it be in the market for? Because the deal of the week is a weekly email, it should be just the last 7 days. Now, if you send a deal of the week every 2 weeks because you have your own system behind that, then it's the best deal since the last time you sent the deal of the week. You with me on that, Candace? So like the last time you sent it was 7 days ago, then just look at the last 7 days. If it's been 14 days, look at the last 14 days. But I would look at save rate as the number one factor. So again, let's back up here for a second. Email marketing. What is the email marketing you should be doing? I recommend 2 emails per week, which is number one, you have the deal of the week, which is you can look at the save rate, or you can have your own system for determining it. And then you send that email to your entire database. The second email, and I'll pull up an example here, is we have our email of the week. This is a value-based email. This is a value-based email. So the team at Listing Leads, the crack team at Listing Leads, does the research, does the writing, does the editing. We understand that like every market is a little bit different. So we try to go one level above your market. Now, of course, you can personalize this. If something we say is a little bit off, you can personalize it in whatever capacity you want to personalize it in. But the second email is going to be the email of the week. And Nathalie, I'll come back to that question in a second here. Actually, I think it's Dave. I think your first name and last name is maybe reversed, or maybe not in the chat. But these emails are value-based emails. In Listing Leads, we'll specify which audience. Sometimes we'll say prospects, sometimes we'll say clients, sometimes we'll say your entire database. So we tell you which audience should get this particular email. Now, the question was, is it saturating my database too much? Fantastic question. The answer is objectively and unequivocally, no. You have a much greater risk of being forgotten than you do of being annoying. The average consumer receives a couple hundred emails per week. We are always focusing on things that are of value. We're trying to stay top of mind with people. The fact is that if we try to only reach out to people once every month or every 6 weeks, we may miss the window that they have about deciding who they're going to hire. People go from not selling to selling very, very quickly. And so we have to constantly be in their inbox. Top of inbox equals top of mind. Familiarity breeds trust. So because the way that we do our emails, we really focus on making sure that we're providing value first and sales second, which means that our emails have, historically, an incredibly low unsubscribe rate. And over time, it's one of the best and fastest and easiest ways to generate more hand raisers so you know actually who to follow up with and who to contact. So great question. Thank you. And hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Nathalie, let me know in the chat. Spell it out phonetically for me, please, if you could. So on that note, okay, I'm gonna get that. Natalie. So it's Natalie. That right? Okay, we're gonna get that. David said, I've only had 2 unsubscribes. That makes more sense, Natalie. I've only had 2 unsubscribes in the past few months. Think about how wild that is. If I was sending emails to my family members, I think I'd have higher than 2 unsubscribes. So the thing is that you might see, if you've gone from never sending an email to sending lots of emails, then the first few weeks you might see a higher unsubscribe rate. Great. You know what the best thing in sales is, besides a yes, is a no. The worst thing is a maybe. So if someone's unsubscribing, I'm totally fine with that. Cool, great, awesome. What I don't want to have is I don't want to have a bunch of people forget that I exist because I was afraid of overwhelming them. So yeah, Candace saying, yeah, now I'm not scared. Love it. So Patricia, great question. How do we avoid our emails going to spam folders? We always run our emails through like spam checkers. We're very thoughtful about making sure we're not using words like free and exclamation point and now and buy this. So from our perspective, from a deliverability perspective, we're making sure the copy is compliant. Now, we're going to have our buddy Alex on a live training soon. He'll do some deliverability training. It does vary based on the domains you're using and the email provider you're using. Alex with SH Consulting, best in the business. But at a high level, we always make sure that we're not including any type of language that would cause you to get flagged, as an example. The other thing is that our emails are designed to get engagement, which is the number one thing that makes sure that you do show up in the inbox. Great question. All right, so let me back up here for a second before we move on to texting. The big 3. So big 3, you need to have an email solution. You need to have an email solution, number 1. Number 2, you have to organize your database into 3 buckets. You have to have your prospects, your clients, and everyone. And number 3, you have to make sure when you're looking at the email, like deal of the week can go to everyone, or if you choose, it can go to prospects. If you're doing the email of the week, we'll tell you which one it's going to go to, either prospects, clients, or everyone. But we want you sending about 2 emails per week, and occasionally we'll include a 3rd email that might be a direct response campaign. So something along the lines of like, hey, I just wrapped up doing an equity report for my clients, and they love these, are more comprehensive and accurate than an online tool. Do you want one for your home? So occasionally, when you look at our plan or your plan, you'll see that we'll include some direct response campaigns in there, but we'll specifically call out, is it your prospects, is it your clients, or is it for everyone? You with me on this? So we might 2 emails a week minimum, and then occasionally we'll sprinkle on 1 direct response campaign to help make the phone ring. Quick pro tip. I want these being plain text emails. Do not throw them into some fancy HTML design. Do not, add your logos and your colors. Like talk about spam and filters. Just plain text emails are the way to go for the types of emails that we create. Adding in all the other information creates too many sort of different things for the consumer to process. and it defeats the purpose of sending the types of emails that we send. Darren asks, is it okay to send these emails via FUB, or would you recommend something like MailChimp? Generally speaking, Follow Up Boss is totally acceptable for this. There are limits on how many emails you can send with Follow Up Boss through batch emails. You do want to make sure that your emails are getting delivered. MailChimp is a good solution, but MailChimp's expensive, Darren. So I would gear towards using FUB to the fullest extent before you use a third-party tool. I'll give you an example. The only time I would ever really use a third-party tool beyond my CRM is if I could automate it. If that third-party tool had some automation feature where I can kind of like schedule and get them in advance, then I would do something like that. But if it's not going to have automation, I would lean towards using the simplest solution. Okay. Before we move on beyond number one, which is email, any other questions? Andy saying email signature. Yeah, Andy, just a simple email signature. Andy Brown, license number, phone, website, right? Link to maybe a social, but nothing overly fancy with is my point. Yeah, Don's saying, is it okay to spread these emails out? Absolutely. Yeah, Don's actually something we're probably going to be experimenting with as well, which is probably doing a Monday and a Thursday, or a Tuesday and a Thursday versus a Monday, Tuesday. Grant saying, great point. Paul is asking, can you see an email of the week? Yeah, so we have them on Tuesdays right now. So like this is an example, Paul, of an email of the week. So on the plan, so let me be clear. I'm in the listing attraction plan here. And on the plan, you'll see an email on Tuesday. I'll click on that. And this is the email of the week. Subject line, copy. Again, everything that we write is relevant for what's happening right now in the market. Now, in the event you want to change it or personalize it, what I would probably do is I would probably just throw that into ChatGPT or to Perplexity and I'd say, hey, personalize this for insert my market. Something really simple like that. I wouldn't go really above and beyond that at that point. Great question. David said, I only send from separate systems like Flowdesk. Yep, makes sense. Yeah, so Victoria's saying, can we send emails to people we have not met yet as well? Yeah, I would say, Victoria, that's going to fall into the category of prospects. So prospects will include people you've met, people you haven't met, but it's really people you haven't done business with. To define prospects as people you haven't done business with, clients, people you have done business with, and then finally you have everyone. Skip's question on Zillow. How do we sort Zillow to find that deal of the week? So right now you would have to do this manually, Skip. And I think it's a question from Grant as well, which is I would look at a couple things. I'd say, what's the area I want to focus on? Let's say Bedford, New Hampshire. I would say, what's the price range where there's the most amount of activity? I'd say between $500,000 and 1.25 million. And then I'd say, what type of property type? Say single family home. And I would only look at listings typically within the last 7 days. And I'm just going down that list and I'm looking for the home that has the most views to saves, the highest save rate. And so, great point by Candace. Homes.com has of the most viewed on the homepage, which could be a helpful hack. Redfin does sometimes use like a hot home feature. But I'm using the general advice here is I'm using the portal to identify which home the consumer, not me, the agent, the consumer has determined to be like the most popular. That's the home that I'm highlighting as a deal of the week because my perspective is important, but really ultimately I'm using the wisdom of the crowds. So hopefully that answers the question, Skip. All right, so let's move on to the text of the week. So again, we have the big three. Number one, email. You need an email tool. You need to organize your email list. And I want you sending out 2 emails every week. And then occasionally when we have a direct response email, add that one in there as well. So texting. Texting is very straightforward. You can see here, every week we create a prospecting script. And the reason we do this is important. I mean, I built an ISA team, had 11 ISAs. We booked 5,000 appointments in like a 12-month period. And the one thing that we learned right now is that like following up with people who are engaged with personalized messages makes all the difference. If you want to follow up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you can't just keep saying, I'm just checking in. Hey, I'm just following up. Hey, what's changed? And what we know to be true, this is important, I write this down, is that more than half of all conversions happen after the fifth attempt. So the reason why we write a new message every week is so that you can send 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 text messages. They're all different. They're all timely. They're all relevant. So you're not just saying, I'm following up and following up and following up, because that's going to obviously get you reported as spam, or people are just going to simply ignore it. So let me start with real quick. My recommendation is you should talk about technology first. You should use your CRM to send text messages through. So I'm using my CRM to text because I want to have the tracking available there. So I want to have the tracking in, see if someone opened it. I want to have a history of it. I'm usually not using my phone to do that. Okay, so I'm using the CRM for most instances. I don't think at this stage you got to go out there and buy another tool to be able to manage texting. I think most modern CRMs, Fob, Lofty, Bold Trail, Brevity, they all have some texting feature kind of built into it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Here's what I would do to determine who I'm texting. Because the way I'm going to break this down is the same way I'm going to break down email, except with one small change. So with texting, I'm going to have my 3 lists. I'm going to have my prospects, my clients, and everyone. But then I'm going to add a filter on top of that, which is basically every modern CRM has this filter, is I'm going to add an engagement filter. That engagement filter could be based off of they visited the website, or most likely they opened up an email. And then lastly, I'm going to include a filter, which is my last communication date. So follow me here. Let's take notes together. For my text of the week, I'm going to have my prospects, my clients, and I'm going to have everyone. I'm going to apply an engagement filter. Okay. And the engagement filter is going to be a filter where I'm making sure that people on this list have opened up an email recently. You can choose last 7 days, last 30 days. My recommendation would be the last 7 days, especially if you're doing 2 emails per week. So my prospects opened up an email last 7 days. My clients opened up an email last 7 days. Everyone opened up an email last 7 days. And the third filter I'm applying is going to be my last communication. Again, every modern CRM should be able to do this. If you don't have one, we got to get you into a modern CRM. But I'm looking at when's the last time we talked. And so I've got and I'd recommend 2 different dates. I would say 30 days for prospects, and I would recommend 90 days for your clients. Okay? 30 days for prospects, 90 days for clients. And then for the everyone list, you can split the difference and do like 60 days as an example. But what I'm looking to do is, in follow the logic here, I'm looking to identify a list of people to follow up with who have been recently engaged that I have not communicated with recently. So follow the logic. I need a list of people to follow up with who have recently engaged, who I have not been in contact with. That is the sweet spot for outbound sales. That's really where you want to focus your energy and effort. Because the hand raisers, they're going to just raise their hand. Hey, got the deal of the week email, I'm interested. Got the value-based email, I'm interested. Hey, I was on your website, I'm interested. Then you also have people who are the cold leads. They're probably just not worth your limited time. If you had all the resources in the world and all the time in the world, you might say, you know what, I'm going to go after those folks. But if you are limited on time, I want you focusing in on that sweet spot. So then when you go to a list like this is a value-based text. You can see here, we're like, hey, this is what you should do. And we focus on this is one for your clients. So this exact text, I would send this to my clients who have opened up an email, let's say in the last 7 days or last 30, you can decide the filter there, that I have not talked to in the last 60 or 90 days. And so it's a fantastic way. It's a fantastic way for you to always be following up with the right people, because we're filtering based on them actually engaging with our marketing but we haven't actually talked to them. And so the key here, and this is important, the key here when it comes to sales is you've got to be in a rhythm where you're following up and you're getting past that fourth or fifth attempt, but you're not doing it in a compressed period of time. You're not making like 7 attempts in 10 days and then like 0 after that. Because all the conversions happen, on that extra mile. All right, we got a quick question here. So Grant's asking the last communication. Yes. So Grant, great question. The last communication specifically referring to your individual email or your individual call or your individual text. So it's logging your activity, not the marketing activity. So the last time they engage would be like a marketing campaign. Opened up an email, or if you got a ton of site traffic, you could include like visit the website. The last communication date, and again, every modern CRM can do this. The last communication is when's the last time you, Grant, reach out individually? So before we move on from text, is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on how I want you organizing your prospecting list? Because we started with organizing your email list, which is prospects, clients, everyone. Now I'm organizing like my sales lists. Prospects, filtered by engaged in the last 7 days, filtered by not communicated in the last 30 days. Clients, filtered by last engaged in the last 7 days, filtered by not communicated in the last 9 days. Awesome. Yep. Anyone unclear about that? Yes, Scott, what CRM are you currently using right now? Scott's saying I don't have a clue how to filter those campaigns. Bold Trail, okay. Bethany, make a quick note. We'll publish an article on this. So you can say, if you're using this CRM, this is how we want you to set it up. We'll provide that in writing for you. So that way, Scott, you don't have to like get into the 10,000 features bullet trail. You can set these lists up. The most important thing here is in order to execute the big three, you've got to make sure you have your lists set up properly. You got to make sure that you have your list set up properly, which is to say that you need to make sure that your email lists are set up properly. Do that today. Don't wait. You got to make sure your sales lists are set up properly. Do that today. Don't wait. We'll get into farming in a second. But this is important because the big three is I don't want you to have to think. You see the email? Great. Copy, paste, send. Right? You see the text? Great. Copy, paste, send. That's it. Every time, without fail, every week. You'll take something that takes you a few hours, take a lot of time, and start to compress that down in a really smart way. Yeah, Nikki, great. What's up, Nikki? Good to see you on the call. Nikki, dear friend of mine, known her now probably 15 years. I met the CEO of Close recently. We'll add them to our list. We'll take a look and make sure that you can do that within Close. I mean, every modern CRM allows you to do this. Now, Michael's saying, what is everyone using for mass texting? Typically, your CRM can do this. Again, I would not encourage you to go out there and find another tool. If your CRM can't do this, let's look at maybe some other options for you as well, like a third-party integration. But I would say, most CRMs can do it. But again, if you want to do a third-party integration, that's totally fine. Maureen's question, is this for calling and for texting? I'm generally suggesting that this is going to be for texting. I prefer, given the constraints, listen, you should call your clients. You should call your leads, okay? But the reality is that most people don't have a ton of time. And so texting is one of the easiest and fastest ways to get people to raise their hand. So instead of making 100 dials to have 2 conversations, you send 100 texts out that take you literally maybe a minute to do to have 2 conversations. So it's a really efficient way to be able to get to the same outcome. Cool. Yeah, we'll publish. Looks like this is a great call out for our community here. We'll publish a article on mass texting tools because it sounds like some of you need Bub. You guys use call action. Looks like KW Command doesn't have an option. So we'll partner and we'll publish some options available for you guys. So for those of you who need to use a third-party tool for mass texting, we'll do a little bit of research and make some recommendations there as well. All right, so we're going to end with farming. And by the way, I want to make today's training really accessible. So I'm focusing today on the big three. We'll put another call in the calendar to go through social media. I want to save that as an entirely separate training because I don't want to drag you guys out for 3 hours today. So we'll do another one on social media within the next like week or so. But today is about the big three. Today is about making sure that you get the big three dialed in. So number one, email. Get an email marketing tool. Make sure you organize your list and then follow the plan. 2 emails per week with a direct response campaign sprinkled in. Number two, build out your sales lists within your CRM. Now, you don't have to have a mass texting tool. You can individually text people. So you can go one by one by one by one, right? Not the most efficient thing in the world, but still very quick. So if you want to do a mass texting tool, cool. Don't let that be a barrier between you and executing. Okay, don't let that be a barrier between you and executing. So mass texting tool, great, but let's make sure that we're at least using the individual text if we can do that as well. Lastly, let's talk about farming. Oh yeah, Al asked a great question. Should these texts be personalized with their name? Yes, absolutely. Hey Al, Jimmy here, right? You can see the bottom of the text here. We almost always open a text up with a personalization. I would not include a big fancy signature for what it's worth. And so, like, I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, you are sending 2 to 3 emails per week from listing leads, and you are texting between 100 and 200 people per week. I mean, if I have magic wand, everybody on today's call will be doing that, and that's where we start to get that step change. That's where we start to see that lift in performance, and that's where we start to really build that momentum. All right, so let's end with number 3 here, and I'll pause. Let's talk about farming. So, as a digital marketer, I always thought of myself as someone who thought about video and social media and texting as like the primary channels for getting customers. And then a couple of years ago, my dear friend Gretchen Coley reached out to me, and she's like, "Hey Jimmy, I'd like to do a farming campaign." Now, obviously, I know what farming is, but I didn't have a ton of experience with doing direct mail. So I said, Gretchen, listen, I'll write a campaign for you, and we'll send it. But I really have like no idea if it's going to work or not. It's not my area of expertise. So we create a campaign called the Reason to Sell campaign, and we sent it to her farm, about 2,000 houses. And within 30 days, she generated $5 million in listings. At that point, I became an absolute convert for direct mail. And so the reason direct mail is part of the big three is because direct mail is one of the easiest and fastest ways to get now business. And let's take some notes here, because this is how I want you thinking about direct mail. So when it comes to direct mail, you have 3 audiences. Okay, so write this down. Number 1, you have your farm. Now, your farm, here's how I would build my farm. I would look at, first and foremost, you guys know your areas better than anyone else. Where is the most amount of transaction volume? Where is the biggest amount of, they call it total addressable market? Where is the most amount of commission to be made in your market? Meaning if you sell homes right now, average price point $1.3 million, but that overall market, meaning if you had 100% market share, that's only like, $4 million in GCI a year. I would be looking towards other markets where there's maybe 10 million, 20 million, $30 million in available GCI. Because I know that I don't have to get a huge percent of the market share to still make a lot of money in that market. So number 1, I'm looking for in my farm, where's the most amount of available commission to be made? Okay, number 1. Most people don't do that, by the way. They just farm like wherever they live nearby. So where's the most amount of commission? You can calculate that by simply looking at the total number of transactions times the average sales price equals commission. So in Bedford, New Hampshire, there might be $16 million in commission. In Auburn, there might be $2 million in commission. This is how business people think about marketing, not necessarily the average everyday agent. Everyday agent is like, I'll just farm my area. I don't want you thinking like that. I want us to level up here. So number 1, I'm saying, where's the most available commission? Number two, Melissa was asking the formula. Melissa, it's total number of transactions times the average sales price equals total commission in that area. So map out your area. Spend some time doing this. Map out your area. Have your assistant do it, right? Have a VA do it. But map, like I should be able to look at the geographic area you sell, and I should be able to look at the different areas, and I should be able to see there's $16 million in commission here. There's 65 million in commission here. Hey, there's $10 million in commission here. I need to be able to look at my area through that, because that's going to dictate the way in which I follow up. So, number two, you have to focus on people who are likely to sell. Now, there are 1,000 products out there that can help you do that. But I mean, there's a simple formula. People have owned the home for 10 plus years and have 50+% equity. Kind of it. And ideally, it's their primary residence. Like that, I'm not trying to get overly cute with, this whole propensity stuff. I'm not trying to get overly cute with this idea of like the likelihood to sell. That stuff's great. Those are good tools to have. But when it comes to farming, I want to get in front of as many people as I possibly can who are in my in-market audience. Yeah, they might not sell today or tomorrow, but if I'm in their mailbox in, July, I'm getting their listing come December. And so I'm looking for, again, for farming, I'm looking for where is there, as Paul said, turnover, right? Where is there the greatest amount of GCI? So turnover is great, to be clear. Turnover is like, how many homes are selling and how quickly are they selling in that area? So you might have like a 6% turnover or 12% turnover, but I want you to go one level above that. And I want to say, what's the total commission in that business? Because you could have high turnover, but low transaction amounts, which were just not that many homes, which might not be a massive opportunity. But turnover is a great factor. Number two, 10 years, 50% equity. Okay. You can get more complicated if you want. I don't want you to, but you can. 10 years, 50% equity. And that is your first list. That is your farm. Now, your farm are the people who get the mail every month. At Listing Leads, we publish typically between 2 to 3 pieces of content you can send out every month. You can send all of them if you want. If you got the budget for it, you can send one of them if you want. But your farm is the audience that you are sending that mailer campaign to. So as an example, I'll share my screen here. In Listing Leads, we have, under direct mail templates, we're constantly publishing, right, sales letters and postcards. So let's take this one here. This is, should you still try to sell your home this summer? And this is an opportunity for you to take this campaign here and turn this into the farming letter of that month. So when it comes to farming, I want you at the very minimum doing one piece per month. We publish it in the plan, right? So you can see it's published in the plan like on the weekly basis. But your best bet is to go to direct mail templates and just look at what we recently published. So I would say pick a date. Maybe it's the 15th of the month. Maybe it's the 1st of the month. Pick a date in which you're going to farm. And then go to Listing Leads, click on the direct mail templates, and just choose whichever one you feel represents or aligns with your business and your market. I mean, that's it. One per month. So you have your farm list. Now, in the chat, let me know. Do you have a farm list currently set up right now? Yes or no? In the chat, let me know. Do you currently have your farm list set up? Okay. Yep. Kind of. You got to define what kind of means for us right now, Margaret. No. Yeah. And if your farm list is not producing great results, what I would say is, let's go back and revisit it. Are you sending to everybody, or are you sending to people who have owned 10 years or above? Are you sending it to people who have equity in their home? Let's go back and revisit what that looks like. And if your farm, by the way, if your farm is working, I mean, it's producing great results, guess what? Expand it. More, same filters, just bigger geographic area. I have so many people come to me, Jimmy, I got a 25x ROI on your letters. My dear friend Katie Lucci, she's in a campaign out, and we were doing the math. I think she's at 14x ROI. on this campaign, the 7 letters she sent out, spent 5K. She'll probably get somewhere north of like, $160,000, $180,000 GCI from this sort of 7 campaign series she did. She's got a bunch right now, but she got a lot more in the pipeline as well. Well, like the solution is, and I know Katie's already doing this, like do more of that, expand, right? You did 2,000 homes, now do 5,000 homes. And that's how you can really build up that farm list. All right. So we got a bunch of questions that came in here. Yeah, Diddy saying, I love the silver tsunami. Cool. Yeah. For those of you who don't have your farm list set up, you can, I'll make a note here. You can talk to your title rep. I'm friends with so many of the Fidelity reps because we're on tour with them right now. Like they have great tools to help you get a farm list. I mean, they would love to help you out. Trust me. They want your title orders. So if they can help you, they'll gladly, build you a list for you. Number 2, you get tools like PropStream, Breakthrough Broker. These are tools that you can use to build we got partnership with Breakthrough Broker, great company. You can build your list through that as well. So you can go to your title rep, or you can go to, like a PropStream or a Breakthrough Broker to get that information as well. Yeah, Blair saying RPR does this as well. Yep. Jenny in the chat right now. Shout out to Jenny. Jenny's with a title rep with Chicago Title. She can help you get a list. If you guys need help with that, reach out to Jenny. She can help you get a list as well. We generally recommend, we have a question about postcards and letters. There are scenarios in which postcards make sense. Like this is an example of a postcard we just created where like, if this is true for your business, then this is one of our members like, hey, I got this great campaign. I sold all these houses. Could you develop a campaign for me? Like, sure, but we're gonna make it available for everyone. This is where a postcard makes sense. We're like, hey, like a visual helps tell the story. But at a high level, I'm a much bigger fan of using sales letters. So I'm an old school direct response marketer. I come from the world of David Ogilvy and Claude Hopkins. That's I'm a guy who comes from the world of like Gary Halper, who just like people, the Frank Kerns of the world, who like all we could do is use the copy to sell our product. And so sales letters are incredibly effective as a way to build a connection, engage them, have a conversation, and get someone to call you. So generally speaking, if there's a visual that can help it, a postcard makes sense, but usually I'm gearing towards sales letters. Don saying handwritten envelope. You could do that if you want. Not required. Judith, typically a business letter. The handwritten letters are good, but they're not great. We were asked the question, how big should our farm be to start? I'd recommend about 1,000 houses to start and then build up from there. Okay? Build up from there. Al, you can add your logos to the letters if you want. You can sign them if you want. At a high level, any bit of a personalization you give can have a positive impact for sure. Okay? So before we wrap, when it comes to farming, I want you having 3 farming lists. I mentioned this. Number 1 is you're mailing. It's going to be your farm. We just talked about that. Number 2 is going to be your radius list. And the reason you would have a radius list is that if you sell a house, if you're going on a listing appointment, if you did a home value for somebody, then you're going to want to send a mailer to people who live around that property. So to be successful with farming and mailing, you have to be able to quickly build one of these radius lists. And so in the Listing Leads library, we have direct mail templates for just listed, just sold, open house, I'm about to go on a listing appointment. And I don't want you sending that to your entire farm. I want you sending that to the closest 100 to 200 homes that are similar to the home that you're listing. Okay. The second thing is, like, if you have a magic buyer letter, you're going to want to say, I want to send a magic buyer letter to people who live in this area who meet this criteria. So my advice on the second type of mailing list, a radius list, is just make sure that you're in a position where when you see a campaign like a magic buyer letter, when you see a campaign like a just listed, just sold, that you know how to quickly get a radius list. Title rep, prop stream, breakthrough broker. I don't care. Just make sure that your team has an SOP on how to do that. So it can be really easy for you to get the list so you can mail that postcard or that sales letter. The third type of list you're going to use is a situation specific list. And we're about to publish the 2025 summer expired series. And it's awesome. I mean, I'm so proud of the team. I think this is probably the best, campaign we've created to date. It's 5 letters, actually 6 letters, that we're going to be sending to you guys. That is going to be, you're going to have to get a list of people whose homes have expired. And so for those folks, you're going to look at a tool like RedX is a great example, where you can get a list of expired listings that become part of that mailing campaign. So when it comes to the big three, you have email. Make sure you have an email tool. Make sure you organize your list. Texting. Make sure you have a tool that you can text individually, or mass text. We'll publish some information on that. And make sure you organize your list. And number 3 is farming. Make sure that you direct mail. Make sure that you are sending or organizing your farm. Start with 1,000 houses, build up from there. If you're getting return, expand your farm. 10 years, 50% equity. That's it. And again, look at where is there the most available commission in my market, and let me make sure I'm including and I'm going after that market. And if you are executing, this is the key, 2 to 3 emails per week, 100 to 200 texts per week, and 1 to 2 direct mail campaigns per month, you will see a step change in your business. And all I want you to focus on, if you're not doing that right now, don't worry about social media. Don't worry about video. Don't worry about posting on Instagram. Just get the big 3 right. The big 3 is what's going to be that kind of heartbeat in your business, going to drive the results you're looking for. And all I want you to do is master that. Our team, I'm going to stick around for questions. Our team is going to post some additional training material, because we have some questions here that I think will be helpful to have a follow-up on. Let me know in the chat, was this training helpful? Did this help you answer some of those execution questions that you had? Awesome. Yeah, love it. Love it. One quick favor. I want to get so many more of the ListingLeads members active and engaged here. So please drop in the mastermind group. We have a link in the mastermind group. Drop in the mastermind group. Let everybody know what your experience was like. Share some feedback publicly here, so you have that. I'll drop the link here as well. Because I know for other people to see this and see that you're learning and getting better, I mean, it just helps the entire community. This call was recorded. We will publish the recordings, by the way. Just so you know this, every single recording, and everyone should be able to see my screen. If you go into ListingLeads, you click on this question icon here, you'll see in here, we have on the left-hand side, all of the training videos. So we will drop the recording of today's training, all the trainings we've done on ListingLeads, on Instagram, on FSBOs, on social media. I mean, everything is organized in the training video section. So if you haven't already viewed that, please check it out. We have it there. We will publish the recording here as well. We will also, when it comes to blueprints, we will publish an additional blueprint to answer some of the questions on setting up your CRM. Skip, we'll make sure you get access to that as well. If you have any questions, email support@listingleads.com. Angela, best place to find out about upcoming trainings. We're always posting it in the Facebook Mastermind group. I tag everyone on that. Great question. Yep, love that. Training video is going to be, I just dropped a link there, Denise. It's listingleads.com/training-videos. We'll drop that link as well. And we will send an email with the recording and all of the additional details. So let's end with this. We will have a follow-up webinar where we'll get you guys trained on social media. But for now, when I look at like what should be your goal between June 19th and July 19th, what is my goal of the next 30 days? My next goal is I want you to master the big three: email, texting, mailing. The big three. Just get your list set up, get your farm list set up, get your prospecting list set up, get in the habit of copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send. 2 to 3 emails per week, 100 to 200 texts per week, and then 1 to 2 additional direct mail campaigns every month. Get that dialed in, and that is that step change that you want. And then once we get past that, we can look at adding in an additional lead pillar. We can add in expires. We can add in social media. We can add in Instagram Reels. We have a ton of training on that stuff. But get the big three dialed in, and then the next step will just be that much easier. Thank you guys so much for being a part of today's session. I hope this was insanely helpful, getting you guys dialed in. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support team, amazing support team at listingleads.com. I'll drop the link in there for everyone. Support at Listing Leads. We'll do our best to answer all those questions. And I hope today's training gives you the clarity you need to get out there and execute these ideas. Let's go out there and get some more listings. I mean, this is separation season right now. So we want to set you guys up for success. We're so happy you're part of the listings community. And as always, we're here to support you, help you market your business, help you have more conversations, and help you get more listings. Thanks, everyone.